We went up the same weekend every summer in June. Petey's dad owned a cottage along the Lakeview Peninsula, and it was all ours for 3 days a year. A group of friends had remained close through high school, college, and now 2 years out and into the somewhat real world. Some had come, others had gone, but the core group of Petey, Davis, Marie, Stilts, Amy, and me, Jay, had somehow stuck together through it all. I was in the back of Davis's SUV on our way up to the cottage for the long weekend. Maria was shotgun and Stilts was spread out across the middle row, his wheelchair folded up in the footpath. He really only used the wheelchair in the cabin and on the docks. We all had to carry him everywhere else. I was always the single one, so that bullshit would be landing on my lap again. I should be grateful it's not me in his chair, but there's nothing like carrying someone who's almost a foot taller than you through the woods in the middle of the night. Stilts had been a promising basketball star. He stood well over 6.5 feet tall when he was standing. Sadly, he hadn't stood in 7 years. He'd been in a car accident as a junior and lost all functioning from his waist down, and was confined to a wheelchair for the rest of his life. Everything he'd planned for his future was gone in an instant. But somehow, he kept his head on and continued forward. I admired that about him, when I wasn't carrying his giant ass out to shit at 3 in the morning. I didn't have to think about that for a while, though. I had my rolling tray out and was in the process of twisting my 7th L paper for the weekend. They were massive joints. I'd also prepared one last night. It was the fattest 4-paper spliff I'd ever rolled, using XL elements and 6 months of saved-up skiff sprinkled into it. I let it sit in honey for half an hour, and tonight, it was ready to spin some noggins. I had a mix of my favorite strain of sativa and indica. It was a busy week of working and smoking a bunch of weed, so I was going to take a break this weekend by not working and smoking a bunch of weed. C'est la fucking vie. I tuned back into the conversation, which was being driven by Marie as usual, who was yammering on to Davis about some guy at work that kept smelling her hair or some shit. I don't know. I was pretty high already, and we had just downed some real potent edibles, so it all seemed like her normal jibber-jabber. Stilts appeared to feel the same way, starting to eye my weed, not that he'd ever touched the stuff. Then Davis said something that caught Marie off guard. I didn't hear it, but leaned forward. I watched and saw Marie mouth the name Lisa. Oh, shit. Lisa Warren. Did Davis say that she was coming this weekend? He did? Wow. Lisa had been one of our main group through high school and into the 2nd year of university. Then, she fell off. Wrong guy, wrong drugs, miscarriage, mom and dad died, which all pulled her apart, and she disappeared. I hadn't heard anyone mention her in 2, maybe 3 years. But there was gossip, and Maria was pulling it all out now. How Lisa had gone to rehab, become a nun, a Scientologist, then probably prison, more drugs, crime, murdered families, raped some farm animals. The dark arts, Satan, who knows. Marie always had an issue with Lisa, so I knew that she was trying to manipulate all of us and all of our impressions of her prior to her arrival. If she was to arrive, which I was hoping to see her. Lisa and I always smoked joints in high school at lunchtime in the baseball diamond. We had some good laughs. Always got along well with her. I hope she would come, if only for Marie to squirm a little. We stopped for gas and I blew through one of the 2 papes. That'd last me till dinner, and I zoned out the last hour of the drive. We got to the cottage and Petey was there with his brother Wes and their girlfriends Sophie and Mal. Amy arrived just after us. That appeared to be all who was coming this year, unless Lisa showed, that is. Petey said that he was pretty sure that she wasn't, but had given a maybe. I watched as Marie entered a slow-motion aneurysm again. We tapped the keg, started the barbecue. Burgers, dogs, steaks, zucchini, and other bullshit veggies with a salad. I ate like 5 of everything else. Then I got so high after dinner that I passed the joint to the dog. And he smoked it. Then I realized there wasn't a dog here. I was talking to a pillow shaped like a Christmas tree, and it now had a burn mark in the center of it from me. Ah, shit. Can't take me anywhere. Anyway, I flipped the pillow over. Drinking game started, and I got teamed with Stilts. He carried our team to the finals despite not really seeing the top of the table. Music played, we danced, reminisced, laughed, drank, smoked. Then headlights came through the kitchen window. The music drowned out, and we all thought the same thing. We peeked outside like the Scooby Gang. A small sedan was parking, its headlights shut off. The driver's side door opened, and a short, hooded girl got out. A cigarette amber burned from inside the hood. She grabbed a bag from the back seat and walked towards us. As she got closer, the amber lit her face. It was Lisa. Oh, thank God. This is gonna send Marie into hysterics. I wanted to be the first one to hug and welcome her in, but she had a strange, unapproachable vibe about her. She had dark circles under her eyes. Her face was thin, malnourished. Her eyes lifted, matching ours, and for a moment, I thought she was going to flick her cigarette at us, but instead, a smile crooked across her lips. She said, "What's up, motherfuckers?" And with that, the tension eased. It was like we were back in high school. We got absolutely fucking obliterated over the next hour on tequila and keg beer. I lit the baseball bat-sized joint that I'd rolled, and we passed it around until it was the size of a normal-sized joint. By that time, everyone else had pulled their chutes on it. So it was just me free-falling all the way to the end. The night was starting to wind down when Marie, seeing everyone's acceptance of Lisa, tried to finally iceberg her. She asked where Lisa had been for the last few years. Lisa was honest. Said she spent some time in rehab, came out, got back on drugs, but managed to get clean for a while. Now she uses sparingly, but with a newfound purpose. In rehab, she'd met a man, not romantically, just a deep, platonic friendship. He was older, in his 50s, a veteran who'd lost his family to a drunk driver while he was overseas in Syria. His name was Frank Wilkins, and he introduced Lisa to cliff jumping. Now, she wasn't referring to the physical act of jumping off of cliffs into lakes while cottaging. Cliff jumping was the street name for the act of flatlining yourself by intentionally overdosing on fentanyl, and then having someone shoot you full of naloxone and bringing you back from the dead. The knife's edge was how long you stayed under. More than a few seconds, and the Narcan taking the opioid off the receptor won't do a damn thing, and you won't wake up. So why do it, you know? According to Frank, it was beautiful to be dead. The man had done it so many times he could contact the other side. Time lasts forever there. Only being gone for 3 seconds takes like 2 lifetimes. He was able to hold his family again. He reminisced about it at the open sessions at the clinic. When the two finished rehab, they were close friends, and Lisa wanted to try cliff jumping. Lisa described death in detail, said it was beautiful. Is beautiful. Then she said something that made us all go dead sober. I mean, even me. I had 2 joints lit, sharing one with the dog again. Lisa said she'd been contacting Leah in the afterlife. Leah was Lisa's twin sister who had died freshman year of high school. I had the biggest crush on her. I even asked her to the winter formal, and she refused in a spectacular fashion, which ruined my self-esteem and confidence for years. Sad thing was, only a few weeks later, she'd committed suicide by drinking a bottle of bleach and walking into a lake in the middle of January. Family was rocked by the news. School made wristbands with their name on it, out of her favorite colors. It presented a horrible foreshadowing of the tragedy of the Warren family, and that which it would become in the following years. Lisa was the only one left. And it didn't seem like she was trying to keep it that way. I felt bad for her. I'd never known anyone who had their own personal storm cloud that followed them around their entire lives, charging up and firing down on them methodically, but still, she always had a little smirk on her face, and it just, let you know that she was up for some fun in whichever form that came. I realized I was hoping her and I would smoke a joint down on the dock at the end of the night, just like the baseball diamond. Even if we didn't talk. Felt like keeping that minor tradition going, at least for another year, it was somehow important now. I then realized I'd zoned the fuck out of the conversation and saw that Lisa had pulled out a small toiletries bag. Oh shit, 2 plastic baggies, both with white powder in them, already made naloxone shot. She wanted the cliff jump. Here, now. Petey and Wes stood up quick. They weren't having this, but Lisa didn't back down. She started talking about Leah, about the things that she'd been told, the truth about what happened to her sister when she walked into the lake. Lisa dropped the bomb. She said that because she'd built up such a strong connection with Leah's spirit in the afterlife, that Leah could use Lisa's body to talk, even move around while she was flatlined. This is what she wanted to show us. How fucking high am I? I know I've had a lit spliff in my lips for like the last 6 consecutive years, but I was hearing this all correctly, right? Marie wasn't happy, said Lisa should leave. Didn't feel safe with her here. Lisa said that was ironic based off what Leah's soul had told her about the suicide. Everyone went quiet. Lisa said it was Marie that started the rumor. Shit, that's right. The rumor that sent Leah over the edge. I felt sick to my stomach thinking about it. A rumor had started that Leah was responsible for a string of gonorrhea cases that shot through the basketball team. It had mostly happened over Christmas break, and this was back in the MSN days, so lines of communication weren't as broad. The rumor spread, and by the time school started in January, might as well have been carved in stone as truth. Leah lasted 1 week before skipping out of school, getting sick, and another week at home before giving up entirely. No one ever knew who started that rumor. Marie denied it, of course, saying that she was Leah's best friend and loved her, yada yada. It all sounded so phony, but Lisa was worked up and getting aggressive. Petey and Wes held her back and told her to go for a walk to cool down, then eventually got her out of the cottage. And we all decided to call it a night. I told them I'd wait up for her to get back from her walk. Now, this is my chance. I had 3 L papers left, so I figured I'd toast one, watch some shit on my phone while I waited for her, and then we could hit the dock. A half hour passed. Spliff burned out. My cell died. And I fell asleep. I was out cold, sleeping the sleep of the undead pothead, but was woken up by that annoying generic iPhone alarm. Then I remembered my cell had died. Whose phone was ringing? I rolled over on the couch and saw a body laying on the floor beside me. It was laying still, arms and legs at the sides. It was Lisa. The cell phone on her chest, alarm was still ringing, having been set for 3 minutes. I could hear movement in the bedrooms, people waking up, the sound of the chiming. Then I noticed what was beside the phone on her chest. The ready-made shot of naloxone. Oh shit! She cliff jumped and set the alarm for me to wake up? Stilts rolled into the room, Petey, Wes, Sophie, and Mel behind him. Lights flicked on and they all saw what I was staring at. Lisa was dead. Stilts was the first to see the naloxone and her drug bag beside her and realized what she had done. He threw himself onto the floor, grabbed the shot, and jabbed her with it. Lisa shot back to life. Coming face to face with Stilts, her eyes went wide, his mouth opened. It was like he received an electric shock. He fell back, Petey and Davis helping him back to his wheelchair. Lisa laid on the ground, shaking and covered in sweat. She was terrified. And mumbling something like that wasn't Leah, that wasn't her. Sophie yelled that they needed to get Lisa to the hospital. She might go back into opiate overdose, depending on the size of the dose she took. Petey and Davis wrapped her in a blanket and helped her up. Sophie joined them as they left for the 45-minute drive to the hospital. The rest of us, me, Wes, Amy, Marie, Mel, we all were like statues in the living room. No one really knew what to do. Do we stay up? Wait for them to get back? The general consensus was to go back to bed, which Stilts had already done. In fact, he'd been quiet and strange since he'd brought Lisa back from the dead. Once again, I was alone in the living room. I was far too awake now, so I decided to just go for a walk, smoke the second and last L paper. What a fucking night. I played through it all as I walked the property. Wished my cell hadn't died so I could listen to music, but the gentle breeze gave the woods their own, this simple symphony that played over the images I was replaying. Waking up, Lisa beside me, dead. That was something that would haunt me. And deep down, I knew maybe it should. As I was smoking, I realized this was the sativa, not the indica. Shit, I was going to be wide-eyed for the next 2 hours at least. Even if I smoked the final spiff I had, which was the indica, I was going to be tossing and turning for the next few hours. Well, maybe I'll just sleep all day tomorrow. They can go out in the water and shit, and I'll just stay in bed for the morning. I started to make my way back to the cottage. Now wide awake, I was thinking about the food from last night I could still tear into. Plenty of leftovers and portable enough containers to bring to my room. Alright, that's it. I was going to make a feast, going to bring it to bed, share some with the dog. The cottage was coming into view, and I could see the dock and the boathouse from where I sat, but someone walked out, carrying what looked like a jerry can. He was tall, slim, and... Whoa, was that Stilts? He was walking up the path towards the cottage. Wait, how is he walking? How high am I? He was crippled, right? He was in a wheelchair earlier, and like years earlier too, but he was taking the stairs easily. His strides were huge, 3 steps at a time. I didn't call out. There was something so foreign about his movement, so smooth, unnatural, but I did move forward, just watched, ducking into the trees, stepping lightly to avoid detection. What was he doing? Why the jerry can? What would he need gas for up at the cottage? My heart started racing and my high turned bad, like real bad. I played worst case scenario in my head and that jolted my pace. Stilts disappeared inside the cottage just as I was getting into the driveway. I ducked down, moving between the cars, up to the siding. I peeked in the kitchen window. It was dark. It was quiet. Everything seemed to be peaceful and well. Then a bedroom light turned on. Then another. Stilts walked through the living room, dousing it with contents from the jerry can. He moved into the kitchen, covering the walls and pulling out a lighter. Wes and Miel rushed into the kitchen, covered in what Stilts had dumped around the house. Stilts sparked the lighter, and I yelled the word, "Don't!" They all looked out at me from the kitchen. Then Stilts lit the floor. Within seconds, the kitchen and all 3 of them were completely engulfed. Stilts' legs gave out quickly, and he started to scream. I felt the heat melt my eyelashes. I fell back into the grass. I watched as the cottage was overtaken with a roaring blaze in seconds. The distant screams of Amy and Sophie in their rooms were overtaken by the engine-like furnace that was incinerating the cottage. And Stilts had done an incredible job, I hate to say. He must have covered every room. There was no stopping the inferno. The smoke and the heat were getting to me, and I stumbled down to the dock to dunk my face. I had no keys, no wallet, no cell phone, no nothing. All I had was another L paper and a naked lady Zippo. I wish the dog was here. Hopefully it got out before the fire started. The water felt good. I dunked my whole head and rubbed my face in it. I sat on the edge of the dock, numb in a haze of reefer, and I sparked the last L paper. What else was I supposed to do? The nearest neighbor was 6 miles away. All there was to do was to wait. I smoked. I watched the gradient of the sky change from dark blue to orange as the sun began to peak. This would have been so nice to share with Lisa, you know. Though I didn't want to turn around and see how high the flames were going. I started thinking about the fire department, the police, everything arriving, and the questions I'd have to answer. I didn't even know where to start. Well, officer, our friend was killing herself to contact the soul of her dead sister, who revealed a horrible truth that had been long since silenced, and then turned out that it wasn't actually the soul of her sister, but was something tricking her that was far more evil, which used our friend to explode into our reality in an act of random, savage violence. Yeah, you're right, I do reek of weed, officer. However it would all land, I mean, who knew? I was gonna finish this last spliff, see where the morning went. One thing I knew for sure, even before Lisa had mentioned it, was that wasn't her sister's soul she'd contacted and been communicating with. Whoever she was talking to had said that it was Marie who was responsible for the rumor about Leah and thus her suicide, and that's not true. I started the rumor. Hey there kids, it's me, MrCreepyPasta, and I wanted to tell you thank you for watching today's video on YouTube, or listening to tonight's episode of the podcast. If you guys like hearing stories being told here on YouTube/podcast/ wherever you happen to be listening to stories being told, then you can always get some behind the scenes stuff. Check out twitch.tv/MrCreepyPasta, and sometimes I go live there. That's basically the end of the statement. Sometimes I'm live. A lot of the times I'm not. Sometimes when I'm live, I play video games. Majority of the time when I'm live, I'm attempting to work, but also I get wrapped up in talking about life stories or things. So if you ever wanted to know me outside of this, then hey, just check out twitch.tv/MrCreepyPasta. And I want to give a big thank you, as always, to all of my Patreon subscribers on Patreon. You guys are the real MVPs. You're the ones that allow me to do stuff like getting specific stories just for the channel. If you guys want to see more of that, then I would really, really, really love if you guys could help support on patreon.com/MrCreepyPasta, like some of these wonderful guys, such as Jordan Alexander Sanchez, Stephanie Butler, Bobby Karman, Tristain Pelton, Chance Burnett, Diana Kraus, KhaosArts, Kryolinian, Milk and Miel, Celty Sturloson, Zachary, Graffius, It's All About That FOOKIN Music, Goreng, Trimagasi, Maria Walker, Tonya, Oran, paingravy, Krazy Kid, MrMarcusBlitz, Aika, Limchoc, Dirt Diver 030, Matt Bach, Dabbles Raz, Voice of Sand, Coffee Zombie, Matthew McNeese, Shelly J, Jeremy H, Raltazal, Ficomel, Nana, Nick Weaver, Melted Lake, Tolly Sue, Sky Mara Ravenswood, William King, Darth Milver, Micah Ortiz, Satanic Aries, Nessie, Barterhawk 764, Lambda M98, Harley, Billy Morrow, Sashi Suzaku, My Body Sounds Like Rice Krispies, Kaylee Ambrose, Suji Campbell, Stricken, Azarine Fox, Freddy Krueger, Nicholas Zaccardi, Happy Birthday Jason Wilson, Lisa Cottrell, Caspian, Hades Nephew, Tater Chip, Acid System, Prozac and Pancake Appreciation Society, Cryptic Nightmares, Kiri the Sloth, Tommy Green, Fester Lampshade, Sky Harbor, Nico Kyle, Rafael Rodriguez, The Ginger Bros, Aaron Stormcrow, Daniel Paulson, Trace Miles, and Corey Kenshin. You guys, as well as everybody if you look down in the description, and everybody that can even just give $1 to be able to help things out. I really appreciate it. If you guys would like to join this list of names that I horribly, horribly mispronounce, check out patreon.com/MrCreepyPasta. And honestly, even you guys who just listen, you watch, you comment, you like, you subscribe, thank you all. I really appreciate it. And sweet dreams.